registered nurse. I'm working on the front line, and I'm also a Black American. So my question is, how do I move on when things are futile? Do I meditate, I journal. Do I fight back? What do I do?
So I can think of nothing. Well, one, let's start with this is so difficult. Like this is such a big, like civilization level problem that please do not think anything I'm about to say is me thinking, oh, I know what to do here. I don't have the wisdom to see us through this moment, but the way that I think about it is that this is a big, gigantic problem that is going to resist easy or overly facile solutions. But having said that, when I think about what really scares me about what you're saying, it's when you get to a point where things seem futile, to give in to the futility of something and to feel like this is truly an insurmountable problem. The difference between this is a huge problem and a difficult problem and a scary problem, and this is a futile problem and I'm going to stop, that's where I get scared, right? Because that's where you will fall into a place of darkness and despair that is just, it's so heartbreaking and is just, that is the sort of unimaginable tragedy, right? Would be for any of us to say, well, there's nothing I can do, and to just throw up our hands and succumb to despair. So it never seems like a useful strategy at the individual level to say, this is futile, there's nothing I can do. So I would say, do and believe that which moves you forward. You have to set that one aside and say, there is a way forward. Now, if you haven't already read Long Walk to Freedom by Nelson Mandela, you want to talk about somebody who has wisdom on this topic. He said it was only his convictions that got him through 27 years in prison. And when asked directly, and now I am paraphrasing from what I remember, and so if I have misremembered this, I'll just apologize up front. But my memory of what he said in the book was, if you want to know how I didn't give up, it was because I believed so strongly that there was a beautiful world on the other end of this that could be created by human beings, and that we simply had to come together to create that world. And when I think about, like, I like to think that I am a strong person, a resilient person, but when I run the experiment on myself of being in prison for 27 years, I come up wanting when I look at how he conducted himself. It is a level of extraordinary that I can only hope to strive for. But he said he had the convictions, he knew what he was fighting for, and he just held on to that. People wanted him to resort to violence. And what he kept resisting. And he said that young Black men were coming into the prison system that he was in, and they were saying, you're too soft. And that way of thinking is outdated, and the only thing left is violence. And he said he always, again, I am paraphrasing if I have misremembered, I truly do not intend to. But he had said, if I remember right, that there were always three ways. And he knew that he had to hold violence as a potential tool, and that if all other tools failed, that would be he would resort to that tool. But that he believed that there was a third way. And I don't think he used the lingo third way. That's my interpretation of what he was saying. So I will say why I call it the third way. There is, in the face of oppression, there are three options: remain oppressed, become the oppressor, or find the third way of unity. And it's pretty clear that what he was trying to do was find a way of unity. Whether he would have used the words that I'm using now or not, I don't know. But when he came out and put part of the oppressive class in his cabinet and said, he used, I don't know if they were cops, but white members of the, I think, presidential guard, he brought into his own presidential guard against his own team's wishes. But he believed, again, it is so dangerous to me to try to think, I don't believe I can recapitulate it. I want people to read his book. I'm just trying to give you sort of things that have informed my process. Is this making sense so far?
Yes.
Okay. So when I see his movements and his actions toward unity, when I run the thought experiment of what is a hopeful way forward, I can't come to any conclusion other than that. Like the only thing that, and this I'm almost certain is a very accurate portrayal of Nelson Mandela's beliefs. He said the reason he didn't want to become oppressive was you forfeit your humanity by oppressing another, that there was something inherent to oppression that hurt the oppressor. Like forget the obvious, just horrendous damage that you do to other people, but that you're hurting yourself. And so even though it would be a position of power, and even though they had the numbers to just claim the country for themselves and destroy everybody else, just from a sheer numbers perspective, and again, I think I understand the divide in South Africa, and I could be wrong from a numbers perspective, but I think that's true, that the black majority is an overwhelming majority. And so from a numbers perspective, it would have been pretty easy for him to bring people to that conclusion, to take power and then push forward a draconian authority. But he didn't want to forfeit his own humanity. And I just thought, fuck, like that's where I was like, Jesus, to be like that would be the most extraordinary answer to the question of what you can do with your own life. And so, and of course he goes out and does it. And I mean, he fucking lives it and walks it and just, I don't know enough about it to say anything other than reading his book, I was changed. I was blown away. It was mind-blowing. So he didn't give up. And that is like when I think about how change actually happens, it happens around hope. It happens around giving people something that taps into the real human psyche and getting people elevated and showing them that path and then walking that path with them. So again, without in any way, shape, or form asking anyone to believe that I have just imparted wisdom, that's how I think through it. Like what aligns with the human condition, what humans respond to hope. Hope is sustainable. Hope can galvanize and move people forward. Violence is by nature divisive. So you create a dichotomy. And so if we want healing, my understanding of the human mind and the human psyche is when there's the Buddhist practice, some Buddhist practice, what is called loving kindness. And you can measure with scientific equipment, you can measure the changes in the brain from them practicing loving kindness, meaning indiscriminately wanting beautiful things for people, love, indiscriminate love. And by can we bring her back up? By putting that love out there into the world, that you change yourself. And then obviously if you have a lot of people doing that, then they're going to change each other because they're looking for unity. So that to me seems so aligned with the human mind, the human psyche, that we can come together, that we can tell these larger narratives, something that religion did so successfully for a long time, even though religion, of course, can also become divisive, but within the religion, it can unite very diverse people. So I don't know what the answer is. I do not have the wisdom to guide us out of this. The area that I think that I have some insights, however mild they may be, is how to think about ourselves, how to think about thinking, the physics of the human animal, like the what divides us, what unites us, what's happening in the brain. There, I feel like the thing I can offer is whatever solution we want to push forward, it has to make sense with the way the human mind works. That's the one thing I'll say I feel like I really understand is that sentence. Not that I understand the way the mind works, just that we need to find a way that is consistent with the human mind. Because I feel like the danger would be in presenting a solution that is not honest about what humans are like. So for instance, to put it back into the context of your question, the thing that scared me with your question was, I get it. Despair leads to hopelessness. Hopelessness leads to giving up. Giving up is it is a type of death of the human. right? Do you see what I mean? Like, you don't have to die physically to have died in all the ways that matter. And so, oh fuck, they gave me the chills. So when I think about losing lives, I don't just mean losing lives to violence, which is
Mm-hmm.
a level of god awfulness that every human being should strive towards. Like, to me, it is self-evident that we should want to eschew violence across the board, that would be the ideal state where nobody is hurting anybody else. I just don't want to lose sight of the fact that giving up, making any group of people feel hopeless, is in and of itself a type of death. It's a loss of your humanity. And as there is a loss of humanity on both sides, being the oppressor and being the oppressed, neither of those makes sense to me in terms of the human condition. So that is the again, the only thing I think in everything that I've said that I believe people can take to the bank is, whatever solution is presented, it has to line up with whatever the human condition is, period. Outside of that, I have speculations about what I think the human condition is, but even that, I'll say, begins, oh, hey sweetheart, how you doing? It's a weird time, huh? You and your mom need to do something, because when kids see their parents afraid, it gets real scary real fast. But if you and your mom take time to cuddle and laugh and remember how much you love each other, you can create like this little bubble. And in that bubble, you can take these moments of joy, and that's going to be the thing that stops you from giving up. And when you have this is what Viktor Frankl talked about, was for him, all the suffering was about his family, right? And when you think about, what am I here fighting for? You're here fighting for your daughter, right? We're here fighting for what comes next. And one thing I was always jealous of is the quote unquote greatest generation, the people that fought World War II. And it was like, because they had that moment to rise up. And we have this moment to rise up and help people navigate through this, right? To each offer whatever piece we have. I've been very clear about the small piece that I think that I have maybe some insight into. But if we all offer our small piece, then we can get somewhere. Then we can, hopefully achieve something. But not giving up and taking the time to just love the daylights out of your daughter and her smile, and to focus on little beautiful things. That's the way forward, man. That's the thing that people hold on to in the midst of despair. That's what Nelson Mandela held on to, right? His vision of what it could be. That's what Viktor Frankl held on to, why he was suffering, who he was fighting for, what it all meant. And if we can hold on to that and have a beautiful vision, we will get on the other side of this. It isn't going to be easy. Again, I don't want to say anything trite, but it is possible.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. It was beautiful. And your daughter is beautiful. Give her a kiss. You get a hug from me. You got one coming from me. All right, guys. With that, I will sign off. Man, this is, at the risk of sounding cheesy, this really is a time to focus on love. And I say focus because that's actually what I mean. To focus on love. You get what you focus on. And if you focus on love, that doesn't mean that there isn't horrendously real shit that has to be dealt with. Just saying, take some part of your day to focus on love as well. All right, guys. Until next time, my friends, be legendary. Peace out.